So essentially, the Holy Spirit forms the church, chooses or appoints leaders for the church, leads them to superintend the church, the affairs of the local church, and even appoints some leaders to superintend or to strengthen local assemblies all around. Now, we had mentioned at some point in time in the recent past that the work of God can only be done by God. However, we noted that God does his work through men. He will do a work in men, do the work through men, and then he will now be able to do that work by the Spirit of God that he has put in them and upon them. So basically, the work of the Holy Spirit vis-a-vis the church of God is to pick the people who will become believers, get somebody to preach to them, they will believe, they will be convicted, convinced, they will confess, and they will be converted. And then he will purge them, he will purify them, he will prepare them for work and make them presentable to God and say, here they are, ready to do your work. This entire process is what we call sanctification. I think it's in Esther chapter 2, where the Bible records the preparation of the women who were to appear before Ahasuerus, the king, after Vashti had been deposed. And it was a cumbersome process, I think, that lasted 12 months. They first of all removed all the debris from their lives. The past life is taken care of, removed, cleansed completely, and then they now apply all kinds of oils and mires and all kinds of things to beautify them and give them the aroma that is required for the taste, as it were, the palates of the king. We also, in the book of Daniel, you recall, if you've read the book of Daniel, you will note that in Daniel chapter 1, some young men from all over the place, including those of the Jews, were selected. That's where Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were chosen. And they were brought to a time of 3 years where they had to learn the culture, the traditions of the Chaldeans. The same is here. When we come to Christ and the Spirit of God is in us, he begins to do a work in us, the work of sanctification, to purge us of the old life, to purge us of the life of the flesh, and then breathe into us the fragrance of Christ, the life of Christ, so that we can live as Christ would live here on the earth. It is after all of this that we are now qualified for divine service.